Hey, true believers, Englentine here with another top 10 list. In this case, it is 10 reasons comic books were better in the golden age. I know you're like, yeah, of course they were. Of course, it's the freaking golden age. But I know a lot of people think, hey, golden age comics are silly. You know what? You're absolutely right. They were, but they were also a bunch of fun. We're going to count down 10 reasons why the golden age were great. Not all obvious reasons, though. So stick around, enjoy, and let's get this party started. Number 10. National Comics. Yes, I know National Comics is also what DC used to be called, but this is a series called National Comics, and it debuted Will Eisner, god of all comic books, and his representation of American patriotism, Uncle Sam. It is a great story. It's a great book, and at issue number 5, you also get Quicksilver, who would go on to become Max Mercury, one of the Flash's and Impulse's mentors. Really great story writing, especially for the golden age. A lot of fun. You also have Penn Miller, cartoonist detective. Come on, seriously, there's a lot of good times in this, and it is written a bit better than a lot of golden age stories were, because they would be like, hey, as Uncle Sam flew in the window, and then you'd see him flying in the window. This one actually had a little bit more depth to it, and I highly recommend it. If you haven't checked it out, search out National Comics. Number 9. The Teen Sidekick. Okay, technically, Bob Daly from the Tex Thompson cartoon or comic book in Action Number 1 could be considered a teen sidekick. But the one that really he also became Fat Man later when it got changed to Mr. America. But I'm going to pay more attention to Robin and Speedy. This really is what launched it, because after Robin appeared in April of 1940, you just had a deluge of teen sidekicks show up. In 1940 alone, you had, Pinky the Whiz Kid. There was in 1941 Sandy the Golden Boy, Stripesy in 1941 as well. It was just boom. Let's take off. Toro was in the fall of 1940. So right away, Robin is what really kicked things off. I like to point out Speedy as well, because they were almost the same guy, what with Green Arrow being almost the same book as Batman. Seriously, check out Golden Age Green Arrow. They're almost identical. Either way, I thought the teen sidekick needed to be mentioned in a top 10 list. Number 8. Superheroes going to war. Yes, I know there are actual war comics that took place in the Golden Age as well. Maybe that'll make another list, but for now I want to talk about the superheroes going to war, because to me, that kind of elevated the Golden Age. Seriously, you want to have a patriotic feel? Read any of these books. Of course, they can cross a few lines that we would draw these days, but back then it was absolutely fun and should be taken that way. Unfortunately, I know some people can't. I'm not going to lie, this is inspired by the fact that I got Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, the War Years. Thank you, Wally's Bargain Barn. For very cheap, and was reading them recently, and it just, oh my gosh, I had so much fun with it. And that doesn't even count the other books like Daredevil, which started off this countdown right here, or at least was the first picture. These are thoroughly entertaining and wonderful to enjoy, and once again, I highly recommend you seek them out. Good times had by all in these comics. Number 7. If you talk about superheroes at war, you have to talk about pre-code horror. Take a look. You got Tales from the Crypt. Come on, 1940s horror was awesome. And yes, I am doing 1940s books, if you haven't noticed, as far as this golden age is concerned. These were mostly, I gotta say, the shocking things were really on the cover. Sometimes you would get some really horrific elements. Some things you would never see again until the 1980s, when people said, screw the code. Because they really did hamper themselves as far as that is concerned. But ultimately, it was just Golden Age silliness, and sometimes the bad guy won, which was part of the problem when Frederick Wortham came along. Yeah, we all have heard of Seduction of the Innocent. It was covers like this one from Black Cat, and then there was another from Crime Suspense Story with a severed head that helped create the Comic Code Authority. So I recommend checking these books out, not just for the entertainment value, but for the historical value as well. Number 6. Classics Illustrated, first published by Elliott, then by Gilberton. That's when they really took off. That's the ones I'm more used to myself. Some excellent stories. I have to admit, there are some books here that I read the Classics Illustrated and went, oh, that's a great story, and never visited the actual book. A lot of them, though, it was like it was a doorway. Okay, well, that's cool. Now let me check out what it really was. By the way, Moby Dick, the book is boring. Read the Classic Illustrated. It's better. It is. I'm not lying about that. Yeah, but one of the great things about Classics Illustrated is it's become the brand name. It's just like Band-Aid. Band-Aids are actually adhesive strips. Band-Aid is the brand name. And that's the same way with any comic book that is reproducing some classic story. Not only that, but it really is a great way to get kids into reading. Not just comic books, but classic stories. So, hey, if you can, find it, check it out, see if your kid likes it. Maybe worth it. Number 5, Walt Disney's Comics and Stories. And let me get this out there. I am a huge Disney fan. If you haven't paid attention yet, I've got a Disney channel called The Homegrown Tourist. I live near Disney. I go all the time. And it is just one of my favorite things. When I was a kid, I liked reading these books. There are so many Disney books out there that you should be checking out. And I'm sure if I make another Golden Age list, we're going to be talking about those. But this is the one that introduced you not just to Donald Duck, but it introduced you to side characters like Pluto, Clarabelle Cow. You have Goofy stories, Pluto stories, Mickey stories, the whole 9 yards. This is what Walt Disney Comics was about. Of course, Donald Duck graced the covers a lot, especially in the beginning, because at the time, he was like the big character. He was the one that everybody loved to see because he would lose his temper. And, of course, you know, people like to see a guy go crazy, right? That's been around since the 1940s. It's not a YouTube thing, guys. Number 4, Police Comics starring Plastic Man. Dude, I'm a huge Plastic Man fan. Seriously. Patrick Eel O'Brien, and I know a lot of people these days leave off the Patrick part, but his first name is actually Patrick. It's like his mom birthed him out and said, he looks like an eel. I think I'm going to name him Eel. Nope, Patrick Eel O'Brien. Now, granted, he got his own series in later days, and by all means, that might make the list as well if I do another Golden Age. This one, though, I liked because it had Phantom Lady, it had the Human Bomb, it had Spirit as well. So you got a lot of great characters in Police Comics, man. Just look at the names that are on the side, as well as an awesome story from Plastic Man. I had a blast with this book, seriously. Even now, and you could check it out. It's on it's at the Digital Museum. Anybody could download them for free. They're all public domain. So you know what? I said it before. I'll say it again. I recommend you go check that out. I think you'll have a lot of fun, or else. Number 3, Will Eisner's The Spirit is truly a book that I would have to say is the Citizen Kane of comic books. There was a lot of techniques, storytelling-wise, art-wise, that were not being done until Will Eisner came along with it. Panel breaks, breaking the fourth wall, breaking, I already said panel, but just understanding that comic books didn't have to be flat on the page. It could almost look three-dimensional. Some of the best art you're going to see are in these books. I'm not kidding. That's not hyperbole. I do really believe this is some incredible storytelling, and especially when you put it next to other Golden Age books. If you haven't read The Spirit, you owe yourself the experience. Seriously, these are truly incredible books. There is a little problem with Ebony White. Yes, he is definitely a character that doesn't fit the modern day mold, and Will Eisner has apologized for him and explained him. But otherwise, if you could just understand that this is a comic book of its time, you're gonna have a blast. And once again, I just think if you are a true comic book fan, not just a fan of the characters or something you may read right now, but a fan of the medium, this is a series definitely you should be checking out. Number 2, Captain Marvel. In this case, I'm going to focus on Wiz Comics and Captain Marvel Adventures. And yes, that is because there's an entire Marvel family out there that deserves their own spot on any Golden Age list. Part of the reason that makes this book or this character so good is the fact that this was playing around straight up with the writing. of comic books. A lot of times you would have anthology series, and you still had that here a little bit. But what you would also have is a broken narrative. This, you didn't have that. This was playing around with the storytelling in long form, and that was just amazing for the time. It was absolutely something you didn't see a lot. So in that way, Wiz Comics and Captain Marvel Adventures was groundbreaking. And yes, I do think it warrants repeating that at one point in time, this was outselling Superman. And if you read it, you're going to find out why. And the number one reason why comic books were better in the golden age than they are right now is Batman. Yeah, could it be anything else? Actually, it can. What I'm really here to talk about is Bill Finger on Batman. Or you know what? I know I collected a lot of Batman imagery, but truth being, let's talk about Bill Finger himself, because he also ended up being on Green Lantern as well. A notoriously slow writer. A lot of people say that he created everything, but in all honesty, for a little bit, he was replaced by Gardner Fox, who did the utility belt, the bat plane, the Batarang. But when Finger came back, he creates the Batmobile and the Batcave as well, as providing Gotham City with his name. When Bob Kane produced an image of the Batman, it was a red-clad Batman with stiff wings, and he says, no, you gotta, make him gray, and here's a cowl and a cape instead of wings. So we owe a lot about what we love with the Batman to Bill Finger. And I don't think his contributions could ever be overstated as far as what he's done for the comic book industry just through one character. And remember, once again, he was on more than just that one character. He left Kane's studio to work directly for DC Comics, and he supplied scripts for not only Batman but Superman, like I said, Green Arrow. He came up with Betty Kane as well, Ace the Hound. Goodness, he ended up writing for Fawcett, for Quality, Marvel Comics during the 1940s. Of course, it was Timely Comics back then. Bill Finger created the All-Winter Squad. Seriously, I'm not joking about this. The man is freaking everywhere, and if he's not at the top of your list as one of the greatest creators of all time, in all honesty, I think that's a bit of a crime. He really should be. So there you go. What was going to start off as, hey, Bill Finger wrote a lot of Batman, I just really think that we should say, thank you very much to Bill Finger for creating what he did, for doing what he did for the medium. So yeah, number one reason the golden age was a hell of a lot better than comic books are today, Bill Finger. There you go, gang. That is the countdown. What do you think? And yes, there is a storm going on. I'm not actually producing the lightning, as that was said in one of my last videos. But yeah, what do you think of the countdown there, guys? Let me know in the comments below. Or do you have something that I should have put on that I missed, or something you thought, yeah, I know you included it, but I don't agree with that being on the list? Let me know in the comments below. We all have different opinions, and I'd like to hear yours. Also, don't forget to click like if you haven't done it already. Click share, subscribe, and ring that bell, because that's what YouTube cares about, when YouTube cares at all. Now, if you don't mind helping out the channel so I can continue to make videos for you, by all means, go on over to Ko-Fi or to Patreon. Drop $1 in the till. Help us keep the lights on. Help us keep making videos for you. Also, we have an Amazon store. The link is in the description below. If you go on through that, you buy something, hey, you help out the channel and you get something as well. That way, everybody's happy and the world is a better place for it. Don't you think? Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.